Have you ever looked at an app and just wondered, how does that actually work? What's going on inside? Well, today we're going to peek under the hood of a simple Python to-do list app and see exactly how all the pieces fit together. Let's get into it.
But first, something that might surprise you. You'd think a Python project would be, mostly Python, right? Well, take a look at this. According to GitHub, the main language is actually PowerShell, coming in at over 51%. Now, this is probably due to setup scripts and automation, but it's a perfect little reminder that even simple projects can have some unexpected stuff working behind the scenes.
So, to make sense of everything, here's our game plan. First, we'll see what the app actually does. Then, we'll dig into its blueprint, its architecture. After that, we'll look at the actual code files and see how to get the app running, and we'll wrap it all up with why this structure is so important.
All right, let's start with the basics. What is this thing? At its heart, it's just a really straightforward tool for managing your tasks.
And it's what we call a console app. That means there are no fancy buttons, no windows, no graphics at all. You talk to it using just text in a terminal. Think of it as the minimalist, no-frills version of an application.
The features are exactly what you'd expect. You can add, view, update, and delete tasks, and of course mark them as complete. But here's the key detail. It uses in-memory storage. What does that mean? It means your list only exists while the app is running. As soon as you close it, poof, the list is gone. It's like writing a shopping list on your hand that washes off.
Okay, so we know what it does. But how is it all put together? Well, just like a building, good software needs a blueprint. In the coding world, we call this its architecture. It's the grand plan for how everything is organized.
And the person who built this was very deliberate. They say right here that the app uses clean architecture. This isn't just jargon, it's a really popular and powerful way to build software. The whole point is to keep the code from becoming a tangled mess by making sure each part has one and only one specific job to do.
So what are these layers? Let's use a kitchen analogy. First, you've got the models. These are your basic ingredients. They just define what a task is. Next, the repositories. Think of this as the pantry, where you store and grab your ingredients. Then you have the services layer. This is the chef with the cookbook. It holds all the recipes, or the business logic, that tells you how to combine everything. And finally, the CLI is the front counter where the customer, or you, places an order. Simple, right? Each part has its own zone.
Okay, let's go from that conceptual blueprint to the actual files and folders. We're moving from the architect's drawing to walking through the actual house as it's being built.
And check this out. This is the main source code folder. And look at those names: models, repositories, services, CLI. The file structure is a perfect mirror of the clean architecture we were just talking about. This makes navigating the code so much easier.
Let's start in the models folder. The test.py file in here is literally the definition of a to-do item. It says, hey, every single task is going to have an ID, a title, a description, and a status. These are our raw ingredients.
Next up, the repositories folder. This is our pantry. Its only job is to manage the collection of tasks, adding new ones, finding an existing one, or getting rid of one. It's all about storage.
Now for the services folder. This is where the magic happens. It's the chef. It contains the main logic. When you say, I want to update this task, the service layer coordinates everything. It grabs the task from the repository pantry and applies the right recipe to make the change.
And finally, we have the CLI folder. This is our front counter. The code here is responsible for printing that menu to your screen, taking your input, and then yelling your order back to the chef in the service layer. It's the only part of the app you, the user, ever actually talk to. So, we've seen the blueprint, we've seen the parts. Now, how do we actually put it all together and switch it on?
Well, thanks to that clean structure, it's incredibly straightforward. First, you clone the repository, which is really just a fancy way of saying you download all the project files. Then you run one command to install its dependencies. Those are just other bits of code the project needs to work. That's it. 2 simple steps and you're ready to go. And once it's running, this is what you'll see. A clean, simple menu that maps directly to all the features we've been talking about. You type a number, hit enter, and behind the scenes, all those layers start doing their one specific job to make it happen.
So after this whole tour, we get to the big question. Why? Why go through all this trouble for a tiny little to-do app? Why not just jam all the code into one big file?
Well, because this structure is what turns a messy script into a real professional piece of software. When every part has its own place, the code is so much easier to manage. If you need to change how data is stored, you just go to the repository.
Want to change the menu text? You just go to the CLI folder. It makes the project easier to test, easier to maintain, and most importantly, way easier to build upon in the future.
And that really brings us to a final thought. This project is a great example of how good structure isn't just for software, it's for anything we build. So it kind of makes you think, what's the architecture of your own daily to-do list? Is it a well-organized system? Or is it more like a chaotic pile of sticky notes? Something to chew on.